Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our second week of our discussion with regards to the prevention of marine environment. Mari and B, for the week two, we have the module two topic resources of pollution and its effect to the marine environment. So, it is under MARPOL, Marine Pollution 73-78 of the convention. So, our learning objectives, we're going to discuss the different major sources of pollution and its effect to the maritime. And also, we're going to explain the principles and responsibilities and objective in MARPOL 73-78, including the different requirements in the construction equipment and its operation. But first, beforehand, I'm going to show you a video. It is an eye opener for us what is happening in our marine environment. Okay, so that is a eye opener for us that 80% of our waste in our marine life is coming from uh, tayong mga tao. Tayo yung mga nagko-contribute ng 80% sa pollution sa ating marine life. No? So, what is the effect of this marine pollution? So, first, it blankets the surface, interfering with the oxygen exchange between the sea and the atmosphere. So, nabablock niya yung oxygen na makikreate niya through the marine life, no? Yung mga ating mga isda. And also yung mga coral reefs natin nawawala ng production. Also blankets the seabeds, which is our mga coral reefs natin. It interfering with the growth of their marine life. So nawawalan ng growth, hindi lumalaki or hindi lumalago yung ating mga plants under the sea. No? So it covers the oxygen din kasi. So nawawalan ng production, no? Nawawalan ng nutrients. And also the elements most likely toxic and can enter into the food chain. So yung mga toxic elements like kunwari mo yung mga plastics na tinapon natin, syempre once it depletes yung mga nalulusaw or nagkakaroon ng toxic chemicals, nahahalo siya sa tubig dagat natin. And also, it may enter to the seawater, distilling inlets, and it may deposit on the tidal mud floods. Again, it is a detrimental result. So, detrimental result, it result to the death of our marine life, no, yung mga isda natin. Also, it is a recreational use for it interferes also for the recreational use of our beaches. So, if madumi yung dagat, hindi rin natin siya magagamit. Not only for the marine life, also for us who were benefiting for the beach. No? Mahilig tayo mag-beach, pero what if the beach na pinupunta natin, di ba, ayaw natin na marumi. So, yung mga waste na nanggagaling sa ating mga tao, tayo din yung makikinabang kapag nagtapon tayo. So, yung pakinabang na yun, hindi siya in a good way, in a bad way na kasi ikaw yung nagtapon. So, yung hindi naman term yung pakinabang ngayon, parang ikaw din yung magsasuffer pala. No? Yung right term is ikaw din yung magsasuffer sa waste na pagtapon mo. So, main sources of marine pollution, it is a land-based sources. Sabi nga kanina, 80% coming from land. So, it is also coming from the products of the industry. First niyan, yung plastics. No? Did you know that plastics are madidissolve lang in 100 years? So, for example, meron kayo tinapon na plastic. After 100 years, doon pa lang siya madidissolve. So, imagine if we're going to use plastic every day, kailan pa siya madidissolve, no? So, it doesn't uh, help the environment, lalong-lalo na yung marine life natin na maging productive, no? Lalo nagkakaroon ng blanket pagdating sa oxygen. And also the run of agricultural pesticides and herbicides. So, syempre, kapag nag-ano tayo ng pesticides, when it flows and goes down to the deep uh, land natin, then syempre yung mga waste materials natin, babagsak din yan sa dagat kasi sabi nga natin, yung earth is covered most likely by water. So, effluents discharged by the urban areas, yung mga nasa cities natin, no? Syempre, alam naman natin na limited space lang na meron tayo sa cities and tendency, limited space but populated people, ng maraming overpopulation. No? So, tendency, limited space, overpopulation, tendency, mas malaking garbage ang mako-contribute. And exploration and exploitation activities. Exploration and exploitation activities, ito yung mga nagdi-discover sa ilalim ng dagat. So, tendency, iba, no, nagkakaroon din ng tawag dito. For example, syempre, hindi naman gagana yung mga ano nila, mga craft nila para magkaroon ng activities on the sea. Syempre, gagamit yan ng oil. So, yung mga water oily discharge na manggagaling sa mga sinasakyan nila or yung mga pinagkainan nila, no? So, that is another factor pagdating sa marine pollution. So, in shipping and maritime industry naman, tayo mga seafarers, ano ba yung ating nako-contribute pagdating sa pollution? First, during collision. Collision, alam naman natin na kapag nag-collide yung vessel, di ba, pag sinabi natin collision between two vessels, so syempre pag nag-collide yan, syempre tatapon dyan yung oil na nasa barko natin. So, nandyan din yung structural damage. So, hindi pwedeng ma-deplete yung pintura. O pwede rin tumapon yung mga pintura na nandun sa storeroom natin. Also, meron din tayong grounding. Once na sumadsad yung barko natin, pwede natin masira dyan yung coral reefs. Operational discharge, yung mga discharge natin during loading and unloading operation, meron yan. Merong mga droplets na bumabagsak sa dagat natin, no? Kasi syempre from port to sea, from port to our vessel, magkadikit yan. Merong loading arm, and yung loading arm na yon para magkaroon ng discharging and loading operation, may tendency pa rin yan na pwedeng bumagsak or magkaroon ng droplets kapag nagta-transfer tayo ng oil or gas sa ating vessel, lalong-lalo na sa mga tanker vessel, no? So yung mga droplets na yon, and it goes down to the sea water. So, kapag nagta-tank washing din tayo, syempre tank washing, kapag kunwari mo sa sasakyan, naglilinis tayo ng sasakyan, and kapag naglilinis tayo, merong mga residue yan. So, ganun din sa barko. Once we clean our tank, may mga residue yan. So, syempre, saan natin itatapon yung residue or yung natanggal nating dumi sa tangke natin? Wala tayong choice kundi sa dagat. Hindi naman natin pwede ikip sa vessel yan. Ganun din. No? So, napupunta siya sa dagat. So, ganun din sa ballasting and deballasting of water. Ganun din, once we got ballast water and magde-deballast tayo, meron din tayong residue na itatapon sa dagat. And machinery space discharge, ito yung mga ginagamit natin na oily waste sa machinery natin, yung mga maruruming oil. So, i-discharge natin yan. And also when we are going to dock. So, lahat na pupunta siya sa dagat. So, that is the shipping and maritime industry contribution or contribution to the pollution at sea. So, that is our part na guilty tayo kasi that is considered as pollution pero we don't have a choice. Ano ba yung mga known uh, cause of our pollution. First, noong 1978, March 16, on the Port Salut, France, there's a wreck supertanker named Amoco Caldis. It spilled 68 million gallons. Just imagine, isang galon nga lang, ang laki na. So it is 68 gallons, causing the widespread of environmental damage of uh, 100 miles of Brittany coast. So after nun, nasundan ng 1979 in Tobago, no, in July 19, the Atlantic Express and the agent captain collided, spilling 46 million gallons of crude. Millions, ah. So it is being towed, and the Atlantic Express spilled on the additional 41 million gallons of Barbados on August 12. So imagine paano natin yun makli-clean up. No? Hindi siya ganun kadali i-clean up yung mga oil spill na natatapon sa ating dagat. And nasundan pa ulit siya noong 1983 of August in Cape Town, South Africa. The Spanish tanker Castillo de Belver caught the fire and spilling 78 million gallons of oil off the coast. So ganun kalaki yung mga nai-spill natin, and imagine, no, sino yung magsisikret nun? Saan yun mapupunta? Siyempre, it goes around the ecosystem of the marine life. Then the next thing na nangyari naman is 1991 in Genoa, Italy. Haven spilled for 42 million gallons of oil in Genoa port. Then in May 28, at the same year, the summer exploded at leak of 15 to 78 million gallons of oil or burnt. So nasundan ulit siya noong 1993, then 1996, then 1999. No? The Maltese-registered tanker Erika broke part of the salt of Brittany and spilling 3 million of gallons of heavy oil into the sea. So kung mapapansin nyo, lahat sa dagat pumunta. No? Kasi wala naman siya mapupuntahan, and it is very rare na kapag nagkaroon ng pollution na hindi mag-i-spill sa dagat. Hindi siya yung matitira lang sa barko nyo. No? Talagang kakalat at kakalat siya sa dagat. So that is one thing na very guilty ang maritime industry, kasi kaya tayo nag-aaral ng collision regulation para maiwasan natin yung collision. And one thing, kapag naiwasan natin collision, is may iwasan din natin yung oil spill sa dagat. So, during 2000, in Mississippi River, south of the New Orleans, the oil tanker Westchester lost power. No? Nawalan lang ng power, failure lang siya. Then ran aground, then ports are full, and dumping 567,000. So just imagine, nagkaroon lang ng power failure, then nagtapon na siya ng 567,000 gallons of crude oil. And it is suffered damage hull and toward to the sea, and sank, and Prestige sank on the Spain of northwest coast, taking more than 70,000 tons of fuel in the Atlantic within it. So, kung ito total mo lahat-lahat ng oil spill na nangyari, hindi na natin alam kung saan pa napunta yung oil na to. And again, sino yung magti-clean up nito? Imagine niyo, yung mga isda, sila mismo yung naki-clean up. Tendency, makakain nila yon and mamamatay sila. So, who will suffer? Hindi tayo yung nagsasuffer most likely, yung mga marine life natin. So, kung namatay yung mga isda natin, sino yung kawawa? Tayo. Kasi tayo rin yung nakikinabang sa ating marine life. No? So, imagine if we're going to continue this spill and we did not paying attention to the marine life, tayo rin yung magsasuffer at the end of the day. So in 1967, in England, Torrey Canyon, the ground spilling the entire cargo of 120,000 crude oil of the Scilly Island. No? It is entering the English Channel, and that resulted in biggest oil pollution incident ever recorded at that time. So it is the biggest at that time in a poor navigational practice. So poor navigational practice, ibig sabihin, nagkaroon ng miscalculation or hindi marunong mag-navigate yung isang officer on the bridge. So, we never know, no? Kaya ang hirap maging officer, dapat you are fully equipped and knowledgeable on the call regs, no? So that time wala pang call regs, kaya nabuo din yung collision regulations natin, no? Para maiwasan din yung ating oil, not the oil, the collision of the vessel, no? Para maiwasan yung collision, then para maiwasan din yung oil spill. So in 1989, Prince William sound at Alaska tanker Exxon Valdez. So this Exxon Valdez is in the undersea, spilled of 10 million gallons of oil into the water, causing the worst oil spill in the U.S. history. So it is the worst for the oil spill history and gained the biggest media coverage in the area or the public demand of the action. So in this case, nabuo tuloy yung OPA 90, no? Oil Pollution Act of 1990, making it mandatory for oil tankers. Ibig sabihin, na-require na nila sa lahat ng oil tankers at the US ports to have a double hull. Pag sinabing double hull, dalawa yung bakod ng vessel. For example, meron kayong vessel, dalawa yung construction na hull niya. Kumbaga, dalawa yung hull niya, kumbaga kapag bumangga ka, hindi mayuyupi yung first layer ng, kunwari mo, ikaw sa sarili mo, kumbaga double layer yung skin mo. Hindi ka agad ikaw masasaktan kasi meron ka pang additional layer. So parang ganun sa barko, no? Dalawa yung hull niya, hindi ka agad mabubutas yung barko kasi may isa pang layer na naka-form. So on tanker vessel, they require in 1919 that tanker in the USA, the tanker vessel must have a double hulls, no? In order to prevent also the pollution. So in 1929, an international conference was held in Washington, D.C. in the attempt of the control of the discharge of oil into the sea. And IMCO, International Maritime Company, was established in Genoa and changed into IMO. So naging International Maritime Organization siya in 1982. So in these responsibilities, the objective of the MARPOL 1973-78, including the different requirements in construction, equipment, and operation of the vessel. First, the construction requirements. Kung na-require na nila magkaroon ng double hull. Then, equipment requirements. Ano ba yung mga equipment para magkaroon na or ma-mitigate or mabawasan yung risk of pollution at sea. And operational requirements and how to operate these equipments. Also, it can done, syempre hindi mo ito mamomonitor if lahat ng vessel ay complying with the rules. So again, it done by survey and certification of the flag state control. So kung wala ka nito, hindi ka nila bibigyan ng license to operate, and also if you don't have these fully requirements, you are not required to sail, or your vessel is not required to sail on the ocean. So also it is boarding and inspect by the port state control and airborne surveillance of the coastal state control. So ito yung mga inspectors natin na nag-check sa vessel natin if we are complying with the regulations. And lahat ng waste management natin on board, ilalagay natin siya sa oil record book. So it will be done and checked by the port state and the flag state control. So chinecheck siya once we arrive on board, on the port. Then pupunta yung flag state and port state control on board. Then i-check yung oil record book natin. So it is the record of all the oil content produced by oil discharging, monitoring, and control system, and it is checked by the port and flag state control. The government, party to the MARPOL 73-78, they must ensure that they provide the reception facilities in their all ports. So the MARPOL 73-78 require the all government who have a port facility that should provide a reception to the port for the residues, yung residues na manggagaling sa vessel natin. Siyempre, meron tayong oil residue na hindi natin pwedeng itapon sa dagat, then saan natin i-discharge? So, pwede lang po siyang i-discharge sa port. So, once we got on port, dapat yung port facility, meron silang collection of ship's residue. And without this, hindi sila pwede mag-operate. Hindi pwede mag-operate yung port. And kung wala tayong oil record book, kung hindi updated, hindi tayo pwede magtuloy sa loading or unloading operation natin. So imagine, may mga nag-check sa mga operations and hindi tayo makakapag-operate, hindi tayo makakapag-sale kung hindi tayo nagpo-comply sa mga requirements ng mga inspectors natin. So, waste oil. Ano ba yung mga waste oil? It is generated, ito yung mga nire-record natin sa oil record book natin. It is generated in the machinery space by a number of sources such as the crankcase or gear cases, which is lubricating oil. Mga lubricating oil, yung mga waste na, yung mga dumi doon, syempre papalitan natin siya, no? And also fuel purifiers and creates oil sludge. So, di ba meron tayong mga filter? Yung mga nare-receive natin sa filter, so ayun yung nilalagay natin dun sa ating purifier, no? So, sa purifier and it creates sludge, then ayun yung nilalagay natin dito sa oil waste management natin. So, it can be minimized, but also, para maiwasan natin masyado tayo maraming dinidischarge from port, we can use the incinerator. So, incinerator, it is reconditioning for purifying. And also, we have on board si fourth engineer, siya yung in charge sa incinerator, most likely sa other vessel. It depends upon the designation of the company. But on my case, when I was in TK, no, yung fourth engineer siya yung in charge sa equipment na incinerator. So, disposal to shore reception facility. So, merong hindi naman kailangan incinerate kasi yung kadalasan na ini-incinerate lang natin is yung mga solid waste na merong caused by the oil or oily products. Pero yung mga liquid base, hindi natin siya ini-incinerate kasi pwede sumabog eh. Yung incinerator, iniinit yon, no? Sinusunog, pinupulbura, no? So, parang nagkikreme. Ganun yung ginagawa. So, it is only done by a solid waste. Pero yung mga liquid waste natin, nilalagay natin siya dun sa port facility. Yung nilalagay natin sa oil waste management natin. So, ano ba yung mga special areas na nire-recognize natin in relation to the oceanographical location and ecological condition for the character of the traffic? So, in adoption with this mandatory method for the prevention of sea pollution, oil is prohibited. Bawal tayo mag-discharge ng oil sa Mediterranean Sea, Black Sea, Red Sea, Gulf of Aden, Antarctic area, North and West Europe, and Gulf of Oman. So take note, this is the special areas that we are not allowed to discharge any form of oil pollution. So saan po siya? No? In respect with the Antarctic area, any discharge in this oil or oil mixture from sea shall be prohibited. So ayan po yung part na prohibited tayo mag discharge ng oil, no? Yung minention natin earlier. So, who is responsible for the MARPOL reporting, the marine pollution? So, the master, it is the overall in charge or the person having the charge of any involvement in the incident. Kung sino yung nakakita, hindi lang si master. Siyempre, kung for example, no, kung ako si third officer ako, nakita ko yung scenario, then I will report to the master. Then the master will going to take an action of the scenario or the reporting activity. No? If it is not be done, then the owner, character, or manager or the operator of the ship is responsible for making a report. So, kung nangyari mo si sa ordinary seaman or si able-bodied seaman or si bosun, sila yung nakakita, then they're going to report to the master and the master will going to forward it to the operator of the ship or the charterer, yung may-ari, or the manager of the vessel. No? Then we're going to make a report, then the incident will going to have an investigation. So, reporting an incident, it is based on the Article 8 of MARPOL 7378. When you're going to report an incident, it requires the master to report incident involving the discharge of harmful substances into the sea. By the way, guys, hindi pwedeng hindi ka magre-report once you notice there's an incident of oil pollution. So, it is actions by the coastal state is often necessary, and it's important that the states are informed no, kung saan yung geographical area na nag ah, tawag dito, naglalayag yung vessel nyo, the state must be informed of the incident and the resulting of the discharge of harmful substances to their land or to their boundaries. So reporting requirements apply not only to the actual discharge but also to the probable discharge. Hindi lang yung nakakita kayo ng discharge, kundi yung bago pa ma-discharge. It is also done not only yung polluted na, pati yung act na parang magkakaroon na ng pollution, dapat i-report mo siya, no? Eh sir, hindi pa naman siya ng-pollute. Kahit na. It is also part of the incident, no? Hindi pa siya accident, but it is an incident. Pwede na siya mangyari as accident. So, dapat i-report nyo yun para in future, maging basis siya na, ito pala pwedeng maging accident ito. Pwedeng ito yung maging cause ng pollution or ng oil pollution. So, yung mga ganong scenario, dapat also dapat nire-report din natin. So in reporting incident, the harmful substances, it is covered by the pollution of oil, the NLS or the noxious liquid substances, and also the harmful substances in a package form. So the initial report must be sent to the nearest coastal state as soon as possible by the fastest telecommunication means. So once you receive the incident, dapat matransfer mo na siya sa nearest coastal state para ma-mitigate na agad yung problem. So what is the contents of the reporting? So first, name of the vessel, pangalan ng barko mo, your call sign, flag state kung saan naka-registered yung vessel mo. Also, what is the frequency, anong gamit mong channel, anong gamit mong radio, no, para pagtatawag ka sa kanila, ano yung address, yung telex number, telephone number, name of the owner, and representative, at kung anong klaseng vessel yung dala-dala mo, no? So, meron din tayong tinatawag na date and time kung kailan nangyari yung insidente, ano yung description ng incident, including the sustained damage, no, kung ano yung description mo sa insidente. Kunyari mo, it is a small or large scale. Pag sinabing small scale, malit lang na oil pollution. Large scale, ibig sabihin malaki yung oil pollution na nakita mo. Also, you give the position of the vessel, the course, ano yung tinatakbo mong course, ano yung speed ng vessel mo at that time, and what is the appropriate time of that incident, no? And type of oil involved, ano ba siya? Crude oil ba siya? Sludge oil, grease oil. So dapat i-indicate mo rin kung anong klaseng oil yung tumapon. Also, ano yung dala-dala mong kargada? If you're carrying a tanker vessel, anong klaseng tanker vessel siya? LPG ba siya or LNG? Ano yung type o ano yung kargada ng LPG vessel mo? Methane ba or butane or propane? So dapat indicated lahat ng information para malaman nila kung how they response to the incident and how they will mitigate the risk of spreading the oil pollution. So when MARPOL incident is reporting is required, tuwing kailan ba siya required i-report? So based on the Article 8, Protocol 1 of MARPOL contained comprehensive requirements for the report in the required format to be made or to the nearest station without the delay. Ibig sabihin, hindi dapat ipagpaliban or hindi pwedeng sabihin mamaya na mag-report. Once you got the incident, you should report it immediately, and it is permitted level or probable discharge of oil or noxious liquid substances or whatever reason, including for the purpose of securing the safety of ship and saving the life at sea. So, it is required kahit maliit or gaano kalaki pa yan, required mong i-report. So, lahat po ng incident na nakita mo na can make the safety of ship or it can damage the life of the sea, kailangan i-report mo. So, a damage probable discharge of substances in package form, including the freight containers. Kung bumagsak lang yung freight containers, i-report mo. Yung tanks, may tumapon, i-report mo. Yung vehicle or the barges nasira or merong bumagsak sa barko mo, i-report mo. So, damage, failure, breakdown to the ship or 15 meters length above, you need to report. So effects of safety of ship, including not limited to the collision, grounding, fire explosion, structural failure, flooding, and cargo shifting, we're going also to report. Results impairment of the safety of navigation, including but not limited to failure, breakdown, steering, propulsion, plant, electrical generating system, and essential shipborne and navigational aids, and discharge during the operation of the ship or the NLS in excess to the quantity instantaneous rate permitted under the present convention. So, sino ba yung party or sino ba yung involved pagdating sa reporting or pagdating sa initiating the inspections? First, we have the coast state, coastal state, port state, and flag state. Sino-sino ba sila, no? So, si coastal state, its main function is the surveillance. Siya yung nag-check. Then si port state naman, siya yung pagdating sa inspection and detention. So, overall in command dyan, si coastal, then si coastal, nasa baba niya si port state. Then si flag state naman, siya yung nagko-comply. So, sino ba si flag state? Si vessel, meron siyang registered dapat yung barko niya sa isang flag state. For example, yung barko, yung MV Sanggalang, yung pangalan ng barko, kunwari MV Sanggalang, dapat naka-registered yung barko mo sa isang flag state. So, si MV Sanggalang, naka-registered siya sa Canada. So, dapat, yung barko ko na naka-registered sa Canada, dapat yung barko ko naka-comply doon sa regulations ni Canada. Tapos si Canada dapat naka-comply sa regulations ni Port State. Then si Port State, i-check niya if si Canada is compliant, kung naka-comply sa regulations nila. Then si Canada naman, i-check niya si MV Sanggalang kung naka-comply sa regulations ni Canada. So pababa po yung natin, yung sequence natin para from the coastal state, i-check niya si port state, then si port state, i-check niya si flag state, then si flag state, he will going to check the vessel. No? Pababa po. And what is the regulation or terms? So, si flag state, where the vessel is being registered. No? Then si port state, nation where the vessel intended to dock. And the coastal state, nation in which the vessel passes through a territorial sea or EEZ. So, si coastal state, kunyari mo, flag state, di ba, si vessel kung saan naka-registered. Tapos, si port state, kung saan pupunta si vessel, siya yung mag-check. Then, si coastal naman, kung saan dadaan na territory si vessel, siya naman yung mag-check kay vessel. So, nakuha niyo yung sequence kung si vessel ay may carrying na flag state na Canada, then, kung tayo ay pupunta sa US, i-check siya ni port state, no? Kung doon tayo magdadak sa US. Pero kung dadaan lang naman tayo sa US, i-check siya ni coastal state, no? For example, sa US yung punta natin. Pero bago tayo makapunta ng US, dadaan muna tayo sa Australia. Dadaan lang hindi tayo magdadak. So, dadaan tayo sa coastal state ni Australia. Syempre, i-check siya ni coastal state. Then, once we dock on USA, i-check naman tayo ni port state. So, nakuha niyo po yung sequence kung ano lang yung responsibility ni coastal state tsaka ni port state and the flag state. So, ano ba yung responsibilities ni flag state? Si flag state dapat nire-regulate niya yung safety, also manning the vessel and the competence of the crew, sets construction, design, equipment, and seaworthiness standards of the vessel, enforce regulations of high seas, must inspect in periodic intervals, and issue the IOPP certificate. Ano ba yung IOPP certificate? So the IOPP certificate, it is the International Oil Pollution Prevention Certificate, no? International Oil Pollution Prevention Certificate. And it is issued and being released by the port state kung nakapasa kayo or the coastal state, no? So again, most likely yung flag state, its responsibility is on the vessel lang, no? So ang niya is kailangan compliance pagdating sa inspection. So doon lang umiikot yung kanyang responsibility. So ano ba yung benefits of port state control? So you can improve the efficiency of collecting evidence and finding violations and reduce the needs of coastal states to interfere with the ships while in transit. So that is the benefits of the port state control. Pagdating naman sa regulation, port state control on operational requirements or an offshore terminal, another party is subject to inspection by the officer duly required or authorized such party, including the operational under the annex, and clear grounds believing that the master or crew are not familiar with the essential ship-bound procedures relating to the prevention pollution of oil. So pagdating sa port, i-check pa siya ni officer if it is the crew or the officer or the master is capable or equipped to run the vessel. Ano po ba yung mga pagbabasihan na conventions? We have the MARPOL Convention consists of 20 articles, then meron siyang 2 protocols, 6 annexes, and for the Annex 1, we have 39 regulations, 7 chapters, and 3 appendices. Ayun po yung nilalaman ng ating MARPOL 73-78 book. So, bago tayo matapos, no, I will show you one video, no, kasi medyo nakalimutan na natin yung video kanina. It reminds us bago tayo matapos on this topic, no, kailangan eye-opener tayo from the start and to the end, no, para malaman nyo bakit pa talaga kailangan, no? Kasi sinasabi natin na preventing of oil, kailangan ng marine life, para saan ba to? It helps us. And for us to fully understand through this video, it is an memory na ite-treasure natin once we got on board while we are studying marine environment. What is the importance of this?
You'll see all these different images and videos and things that go around online that show really dramatically how plastic can kill animals at sea. It can rip through their intestines, or it can fill them up or block the passage of food through their bodies. More often, and what I see as more problematic, is the extent at which plastic and these little microplastics and nanoplastics have proliferated through the food web. When plastic gets smaller than 5 millimeters, scientists call it microplastics. And these plastics are very harmful because they can be easily ingested by a huge number of marine species. They're also very hard to clean up. How do you clean up a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of plastic? Really, really hard. These microplastics break down into even smaller pieces of plastic called nanoplastics that are so small. These are things that are smaller than 1/10 of 1 millimeter. And when plastics get that small, they can pass through your gut wall and into your body tissues. We found microplastic bits and nanoplastic bits, more importantly, in things like livers and muscle tissues and gills of fish. What makes plastic particularly dangerous, or potentially dangerous, is that we add components to it. We add chemicals to it that increase the durability, the flexibility, the inflammability. These are much more worrisome than the plastic backbone itself. But almost every type of user plastic that we have these additives. But also there's been a lot of good research that has demonstrated that when plastics float out at sea, they actually act as a contaminant sponge. So a lot of contaminants want to be attached to something hard, and plastic is a great substrate for which these contaminants can associate with. When animals eat plastic, they can get this dose of contaminants that can be potentially detrimental for their system. Plastic attracts a lot of marine life, in addition to these contaminants, things like algae and phytoplanktons. And when that happens, it concentrates the smell of productive foraging areas. And so what we found and shown in a number of different experiments now is that when this biological life grows on the outside of plastic, it makes plastic seem superficially attractive to these animals. And once their nose tells them that there's going to be food, it brings them to the area where there might be plastic debris, perhaps instead of food or in addition to food. We're not separate from the natural world. Anything that we can find out about these fish in the ocean, which might seem unimportant, are actually very important because we're finding it in our bodies as well. There's this very common phrase of reduce, reuse, and recycle, right? The order of those words is actually very important. Reduce your use of plastic. That will have the biggest impact of the three. If you need to use that item of plastic, can you reuse it? That's really important. And then finally, of course, if you can recycle, do it. So reduce, reuse, recycle, and vote for environmentally friendly legislation. And educate yourself. You'll see all these different images and videos and things that go around online that show really dramatically how plastic can kill animals at sea.
I hope you learned so much about the marine environment and the causes of the marine pollution to our environment. So
it can rip through their intestines, or it can fill them up or block the passage of food through their bodies.
And see you in the afternoon for the exercises. Thank you.
More